Wake up, it's Sunday. The upper deck is on. You're here with Chris and Lynn. We're happy to be with you today.
And today is the day players are reporting for their physicals.
I can't believe it. It's finally happening, Lynn.
Finally, it's here. And we have a lot to talk about around all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it felt like this off season was just a big, long desert to me. Hey, good morning, FJ.
Good to see you, FJ. Thanks for joining.
We want to kick it off this morning by talking a little bit about our captain. One of the interesting things going into spring is Judge. Watching Judge and seeing how he becomes the captain of this team and how he performs and what we expect from him in 2023.
Absolutely. Hey, Lori. Good morning.
Hey, Lori.
Thanks for joining. So hot off the presses, Chris, from Chris Kirschner with The Athletic. He had an article this morning about exactly that. And essentially the whole article is about expectations on Judge. And he's really calling out, to me, he's calling out, hey, fans, get ready, because 2023 is not likely to look like 2022 for Judge. Yeah. And, it's that we should just be, my takeaway was, let's be happy about what we could truly know. And that's we have a captain that we've been clamoring for years in Judge. Absolutely. And let's let him shine in that leadership role. Hey, Elliot. But to expect that even if Judge were to, and again, I'm taking this from Chris Kirschner, even if Judge were to put up average 2022 numbers, average meaning like the top 13, 15 across the league, that would be a significant dip in his number of home runs, his number of ribbies, his on-base percentage numbers. And they would still surpass everyone else in MLB last year. But as a Yankee fan, will that be enough for our fan base? Or will it be, oh, what a waste of money? We gave away all these dollars. We have him forever now until he's collecting Social Security. And for what? What do you mean you're giving me, 31 home runs this year?
Yeah.
And so, very fair point. We have a leader. Nelson Cortez. That's Nestor Cortez's evil twin. Nelson Cortez. Nestor Cortez is quoted in the article as saying, "We do what he tells us to do. We follow his lead." So instead of, let me just lay the groundwork now, everybody, please, peace on earth from the fan base with Judge, because he's the guy, by the way, that in the article, it's mentioned that right before he went to the plate to hit number 62, he was consulting with his own personal hitting coach, sent him the video from batting practice. To say, okay, what was wrong here? What do I need to improve? And went and hit number 62. He's going to be that man. So let him do his job. And we got the check mark in history for him. And no one is going to pass that. Yes, you could quote me. We're not going to see anybody surpass that this season coming up. So let's just manage our expectations there. And so check out the full article on The Athletic from Chris Kirschner.
Good point. Point well taken, Lynn. Manage your expectations. I think not just of Judge, of course, but we could extend that to, the 2023 season. But I want to mention before we move away from Judge, Fangraphs, their projection for Judge for 2023. I'm looking at the numbers, and 46 home runs, which is more than respectable, is reasonable. I think I agree with Elliot that he's going to have a better year than people think, and I think he'll hit more than 46. 280 batting average. I know there's people who don't think batting average matters. Some people think it matters a great deal. I just think it's interesting to, as a way of seeing how a player's progressing or not. OPS of 964. So Judge is certainly looking at a respectable projection for next year. I'm excited. I'm just really excited for this season.
Yep. And let's worry about some of the others that were supposed to produce the past few years and haven't.
Yeah.
And lay off the captain. I'm saying it. Yeah. Lay off everybody. That's my expectation, and I'm going to manage it.
Yeah. And we also, while we're speaking of expectations, I think that Carlos Rodon is another player that we need to manage our expectations of. This week, there was some interesting tweets about Rodon. Did you see those, Lynn?
I did. And the one that I saw was more about his embracing and readiness for the fan base. And that he's excited to be a Yankee. And so from Talking Yanks, he's quoted as saying, "There was just something about the Yankees. The fans here want to win. They care. They care a lot. Giants fans are invested, but not like New York. Win or lose, you're not getting booed in San Francisco." So he's ready for us, and maybe he'll get the overflow from Judge.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Rodon's another one. I'm so excited to see him pitch and to see the rotation stack up over, a period of months as we work through these five. Well, depending on who you believe the number 5 starter might be.
Right. And so Elliot's saying here, I thought I showed it. So Elliot anticipates that he'll need a period of adjustment. David Cohn in his book stated players, especially pitchers, need to adjust to New York. There's just something about New York. Yeah. The good news is that Rodon seems to be well aware of that. There's definitely something different about New York.
Yes, there is.
And he's aware. So acknowledging is the first step. But yeah, he's going to need to adjust. But he's a seasoned ace, and there have been people that have come up from AAA that took things on right away and adjusted. Carlos Cabrera, and so Oswaldo. Okay, right. That's my one for the show.
Hey, she's operating under some, diminished abilities today. So
yes, do I get to play the migraine card?
Yes.
Okay.
You do.
Excellent. Yeah, and so hopefully he'll just and Rodon has something to prove, right? Because he's right after the ace.
Yes.
And he's used to being the biggest fish in his own pond. So I think he's going to see to it right fast that he just gets to balling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so FG, absolutely, you need guys to get on base for the Judges and Stantons to drive them in. Those guys have to hit for a higher batting average and OBP. And actually, Frank, FG, you're giving us a great segue into let's start with the fact that they'll have their spring training this week, and then we face the Phillies on Saturday.
Yeah.
And what should we expect when that lineup comes out?
Yeah.
So since we talked about Rodon, and since we know that Montas will be back sometime in 2026.
Yeah.
I kid, but let's be serious. Undetermined, time when he'll be back. So
right.
Who's going to be on the mound? What do you guys think? In the chat there, who's going to be? Let's start with who's on the bump on Saturday against the Phils.
Yeah,
that's going to be a known. Somebody auditioning? Is it going to be a new acquisition?
Right.
What do you guys think?
I'm hoping that I'd love to see Rodon right away. That would pique my curiosity. Would be piqued by that. So I think it's going to be interesting. What about Nestor? I mean, is Nestor healthy? Is he not healthy? He pulled out of the WBC this week, and then we saw video of him pitching or throwing, as Lynn corrected me this week. I wonder what you think about Nestor coming up this season.
Yeah, and what's interesting is, yeah, he's no longer at the WBC. And somebody called out on Twitter to Hoke that what's Nestor doing pitching
Right.
down in Tampa when he opted out of the WBC, and Hope corrected him and said he was not throwing pitches, he was throwing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're certainly not going to get a definitive answer on his status from non-committal Boone.
Oh my
So
God.
I don't know if when Cortez will be likely.
Yeah.
And Elliott is saying that he expects a lot of players, but we don't know to take the field. The ones we do know will be in for a very short time. Yeah, right. I think the gimmies are, going to be less highlighted, and they'll do most of their work between games. But is this the chance to see Schmidt, for example?
Right.
And see how Schmidt does? It's going to be interesting, particularly in these first few starts. Is the first game on Saturday going to be stacking so that, we get 1 inning auditions from a bunch of people? So, hey, Brad, thanks for joining. And Brad's saying Cole against Philly to get him on his 5-day rotation.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, let's bring it on. Bring it.
Okay, that's fair. And Brad, I guess that would have mean then we would start with going through the 5. The question being who the 5th is, whether it's Herman or Schmidt, and then sprinkling in the others. Uncle Tats, keeping an eye on things. Hey, Tats. I thought Chris was commenting as pitcher.
No, it's not me. I mean, I'm totally enjoying what Tats is saying. Let's move to opening day. I know that it's impossible right now to really get a handle on opening day, but a lot of people in Twitter speculate, and recently Jimmy from the Bronx speculated that he says going into spring training. Sorry, I thought it was opening day. He just says opening day is, but he says LeMahieu at third base, Volpe at second base, Judge in right field, Rizzo, Stanton at DH, Cabrera left field, Bader center, Trevino catching, and Peraza shortstop. Which I love this personnel. What is there a snowball's chance in hell of this being anywhere near an opening day bid for some of these players? I mean,
while the friends in the chat ruminate over that, can you tell me the top 4 again?
The top 4 were LeMahieu, Volpe, Judge, and Rizzo.
Okay.
And I guess the one that throws me is, to start with, we can't assume that we're going to have LeMahieu at third base, or that he'll be the third baseman this season. I'm pretty sure Donaldson has that kind of wrapped up, but I mean, I guess he could win it, right, or not?
Yeah. I'm a little bit thrown by a couple of things. I'm thrown by Judge at the 3 spot.
Yeah.
And I'm also thrown by Rizzo at cleanup. And that's not a disrespect on Rizzo. I just don't know that straight off the bat, no pun intended, that that we he's the go-to for that power hit in the 4 spot.
Right.
I'm a little bit curious about all of this.
Yeah, let me just say for Elliot, he's predicting the spring training opening day. Now, I'm sorry, I misspoke at the beginning.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
so this is just a spring training, but I think that it's unlikely if we skip over into opening day. I think it's unlikely that we're going to see some of these younger players opening day. I really do.
And do you think part of the reason of that would strictly be energetic?
Like, I think part of it is because we have a logjam of players, and people with bigger contracts than them need spaces, need places to play, like Donaldson, like Hicks.
Right. And Brad, I feel you. I twitch whenever I see Donaldson's name in an article, let alone in the lineup. And FG, I think Volpe opens the season at AAA. And we've talked about this a lot, and I agree. His audition will determine how soon he comes up from AAA, but and now we're transitioning back to opening day in March.
Right.
He won't be there in March. We have been talking about mid-season, but if he really turns it up this week and during the sim games, then it's more than likely sooner. I mean, he's not the number one MLB prospect, so for no reason.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And Elliot said, I bet you won't see Judge, DJ, Rizzo, and Glaber next Saturday.
No, probably not. Unlikely. But you know what? I'm so excited that baseball's back. I don't care who's out there. I mean, I'd watch Rizzo's mother play at this point. And Elliot says maybe we'll see the Aussies. I'm happy with that. Bring it on.
I like that, and I want that on a T-shirt.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah, the Aussies. I love that.
We're definitely going to bring you some merch coming sometime. And maybe that'll be, Spencer, you've given us a great T-shirt
collection. Yeah. And I just think that, so Uncle Tats is saying, Tats, sorry, but Brad gave you the nickname Uncle Tats. I think that's going to have to stick. So we won't see main positions for the first week. And you might see DJ for one at bat to see how the toe is doing, is what FG is saying.
Right.
And hey, Steve, thank you for joining.
I agree. I'm happier to see the kids play too.
Yeah. I mean, this is the opportunity. We don't want to, we don't want to learn about kids on through the taxi squad. This is the chance to see what's tried and true, so that when they are called up, we know what we're getting.
And let's face it, do I really want to see IKF next Saturday? I don't know. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I don't think a majority of, I'm speaking for my friends in the chat. Does anyone really, relish the thought of seeing IKF?
Right.
Brad's giving credit to Yanks Morning Brew. All right. So, Chris and I, who are actually, nieces of Uncle Tats, are the last to know. But we're gonna take full advantage of that. So I'm glad that got mentioned. Sorry, not sorry, Tats.
Right.
So
we were speaking a little. Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Go.
We were speaking earlier of projections for some of the players on the team, and I saw a projection for a World Series percentage for World Series, winning the World Series this year. And I thought this was an interesting list. They have Braves, Padres, Yankees, Astros, Mets. Okay, so that's Braves, Padres. This is the order in which they could win the World Series. You have the highest winning percentage probability. Yankees, Astros, and Mets. I mean, the Padres ahead of the Yankees? I don't get that.
Was this somebody from another
you know what? I screenshotted the table, but
yeah.
not the source, so I'm not sure where I got it.
It's probably good and to their benefit, and they should thank
Right.
forever that we're not revealing the identity.
Yeah, it might have been Fangraphs even that I got it from. I can't remember, but
wow,
I was very surprised to see the Padres that high on the list.
So open question here for everyone listening. Why? If it's from Fangraphs, who we all go to,
I don't know if it is. I forgot.
Well, and it might be, but let's just
Right.
say it's a credible source. Any thinking around why the Padres would even be in the mention among Yankees and Astros? That's now I'm gonna have to do some homework on that.
I know.
You know, Elliot, thank you for saving me $19.99 a minute for the psychic prediction, because I agree. Yankees make the World Series.
Yankees make the World Series.
Really, you know, it's not hubris entirely. It's not our typical fan hubris. I think that, look, if they don't make it this year with what we're starting with, there's obviously a whole season in between today and then. But
right.
We are set up like we haven't been set up in a long time.
I love this starting rotation. I love this pitching staff. Even, I mean, the relievers, I love that. This is going to be an awesome year for pitching in the Bronx.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we've talked left field to death, but
yeah.
You know, we have a village in left field.
Yeah.
And speaking of left field, by the way, as an aside to what we were saying earlier, let's just agree that we're going to see Hicks on Saturday. I know we're saying and hoping that it's mostly new kids, but you know, we're going to be seeing a lot more of Hicks than any of us would ever hope to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, so Elliot followed up on my Padres wondering there. They have a great lineup, great pitching, but they'll never get there. Last year was as good as it gets. They're a filler team. Okay, yeah. Okay, so confirmed. Okay.
Can I ask a question at this point, since we're talking about the Padres? Machado apparently announced that he's opting out, planning to opt out and become a free agent next year. Already, Yankee fans are salivating. Lynn, how do you feel about that?
I get nervous when we start salivating over anyone.
I know, because we get disappointed.
Right. And then we get mad over nothing. And we don't need to get mad over nothing. We find enough valid reasons to get mad. Let's not look for things to be mad about, because I think we'll be mad about this. I do not see this. I would think by now there'd be some rumor of some sort that has been flying around before now. I don't see it, and it doesn't matter that I don't see the need, which I don't. But I don't think that that's something that the unwillingly spent dollars would miraculously go to.
Right. Because he's going to be looking for, I mean, he's already so highly paid, and he's going to,
Yeah. And
it's going to be astronomical for Machado.
Yeah. And so, Brad, swap Donaldson for Machado, but per Chris's point, the price tag that Machado would take is going to be more than Donaldson. We'd have to build like a package. And likely some of our valuable guys that we're hoping to see during spring training, and giving up the you know, Dominguez's and Volpes and Perazzas and, the ones that we're really hanging our hopes on. So, but yeah, anything that gets, any team that will accept Donaldson and IKF for their batting boy, for their bat boy or bat girl, I'm all for it. Like, doesn't even have to be a player at this point. Let's make that trade. So yep. So Steve's saying Yanks won't take another expensive long-term contract.
No.
And Spencer's saying they won't sign Machado. And yeah, again, because Hal won't feel urgent enough to spend the money.
No. I mean, it entirely depends on maybe what happens this year. Do the Yankees get close enough to winning it all that maybe they say, yeah, Machado is that final piece? I know that's fantasizing though. That's just me fantasizing.
Look, a girl can dream.
A girl can dream. Absolutely.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And so while we're still on the top, oh, sorry, Chris.
No, go ahead.
While we're still kind of on the topic of the World Series predictions, Jed Weisberger had a tweet yesterday. Will Leach is among those making the cozy pick of the Blue Jays over the Yankees in the AL East. Methinks not, as Pacoda has the Yanks with 9 more wins. Rodon tips the pitching scales. So I honestly don't know the veracity of Will Leach's reporting, but I just think that, so here's my dream. I want to see the Blue Jays where the Orioles were at the start of the season, but the difference will be they stay there all season.
Yeah.
I don't want to smell a Blue Jay anywhere near my nose. So yeah, I and 9 more wins, if that's what Pagoda is projecting, that's not comfortable enough, because the Blue Jays are our kryptonite in a lot of ways, but
they are, but they're not winning the AL East.
No,
that's not happening.
Certainly are not.
No.
And so just want to. Oh, Lori's saying it depends on what round we get knocked out of this year.
Yeah.
Well, Lori, I hope there won't be any round we get knocked out of.
I know.
So that's my story as of today, and I'll stick to it. And yeah, I know FG Blue Jays improved their offense, and we didn't. I think that's yet to be seen. I think I'm hoping that spring training, those guys that have been invited will see some good offense potential that will maybe make it to the show this season.
Yeah.
And Uncle Tats agrees, by the way, about Machado. They're not going to spend the money. And so what do you want to go to next, Chris?
I think we better wrap up. I've got a good trivia this week. We got a little switcheroo. I'm the one with the trivia question this week, thanks to Katie Cat Joe. Appreciate you guys sending us questions, trivia, everything. We love to talk baseball, love to talk Yanks. You can always catch us on Twitter if you don't catch us here. This week's trivia is this. Tino was the last Yankee to hit a grand slam in the World Series. Which Yankee hit a grand slam prior to him? Yeah, so let me read it again. Tino was the last Yankee to hit a grand slam in the World Series. Which Yankee hit a grand slam prior to him? Don't forget to message us. Send us something on Twitter. Let us know who you think that person is, that player is. And as always, we thank you for joining us this Sunday.
And Chris, I do want to take a moment.
I'm closing too soon.
That's okay. That's all right. That just means the time is right. So we're wrapping up our tribute to the Negro Leagues as part of Women in Baseball talk. And with this being the end of Black History Month, I I want to be able to share for you a story about Connie Morgan. And since I'm using my new tool and trying to be fancy, I hope you see the picture on the screen.
Yes, we do.
So this is Connie Morgan. Connie Morgan was also one of the 3 women to play for the Indianapolis Clowns. And it's worth mentioning that the 3 women that we featured, Toni Stone, Mamie Peanut Johnson, and Connie Morgan, are the only women in the history of baseball who have ever played professional baseball with and against men.
Yeah,
which is very remarkable.
it is.
And so Connie Morgan was 19 when she was called up and actually replaced Toni Stone, who moved on to another team. She had already been playing 5 seasons with the Honey Drippers from her hometown, and she was batting over 338 during her time there. She was also a seasoned basketball player. So Oscar Charleston, who is a Baseball Hall of Famer, was the Clowns manager at the time, had scouted Morgan and called her one of the most sensational female players he had ever seen. And so she was signed essentially on the spot. And although she faced all the usual barriers that women both in the All-American Girls Baseball League and even in the Negro League to some extent, she earned her rightful spot and respect on the field.
Yeah.
And Hank Aaron, who she's pictured with here in the top right, also has been quoted more than once that that she is a remarkable contributor and was one who had good control. So in the account of one game, it's quoted that she electrified over 6,000 fans when she went far to her right to make a sensational stop, flipped to shortstop Bill Holder, and started a lightning double play against the Birmingham Barons. And so when you look at her form here in these pictures, you can see that she was right up there in greatness. And so I want to make sure that we take a moment to honor Connie Morgan, the player. And I also want to make a mention about the first woman in baseball who made it to the Hall of Fame, and that is Effa Manley. Effa Manley was one of the women owners in the Negro Leagues, and she was posthumously inducted as the first woman into the Hall of Fame. And so, and I also just want to say for the 3 we've honored this month, as well as for Effa Manley, the president of the Negro Hall of Fame was quoted as saying, the pioneering role that Stone, Johnson, and Morgan held in the twilight of the Negro League's existence, along with the obstacles of racism and sexism they overcame to be seen as equal, is part of the American history. They didn't care, they, meaning the Negro League, didn't care what color you were, and they didn't care what gender you were. Can you play was the only question that was asked.
That's interesting. So interesting. They were that their tolerance and acceptance was so different from, the MLB experience. Wow.
Right.
Well, thank you for highlighting that all through the month for us. Really appreciate learning about these women. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget again to like, subscribe, comment, join us in the chat. And, as Lynn always says,
you'll always have a reserve seat right here on the upper deck. And next week, we get to talk about a game.
Absolutely. Go Yankees.
Go Yankees.